Shalom, Israel. Welcome to World History According to the Bible. Thank you for tuning in. This is one of our weekly classes where we this particular class we go into the history of the Bible and how it relates and how it's relevant today. Tonight's class is going to be it's Isaac to Jacob, and it's primarily going to be about Jacob. Last week, Shamar did an excellent job going into the history of Isaac. So we're going to cover the life of Jacob in the Bible. I'm your teacher tonight. My name is Shahad Amath, and to my left,
Aman Allah.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Last week, like I was saying, Shamar did an excellent job bringing out the history. And he brought out history of Isaac and Jacob. And if you recall, the last thing that he was talking about was Jacob fleeing to Laban, his uncle, fleeing away from Esau, who was threatening his life for receiving his blessing, right? So let's go ahead and start in Genesis 28 from the top.
Genesis chapter 28, from the top, verse 1. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise and go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence, of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother.
So Isaac told his son Jacob, don't take one of the daughters of Canaan, but go to Laban, your mother's brother, and get one of his daughters, right? Read.
And God Almighty bless thee, and make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude of people. And give thee the blessing of Abraham to thee and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which God gave unto Abraham. And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padan Aram, unto Laban, the son of Bethuel, the Syrian, and the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother.
So he left, and he went on to his uncle Laban's, right? Drop down to verse 10.
Verse 10. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran, and he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place and put them for his pillows, and lay down in that place to sleep.
So he didn't have anything else but to use stones as pillows. Go ahead.
And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set upon the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it.
Read.
And behold, Yahweh stood above it and said, I am the Lord Yahweh, God of Abraham, thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land whereon thou liest, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed.
Read.
And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north and the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed.
Read.
And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land, for I will not leave thee until I have done which I have spoken to thee of.
Read.
And Jacob awaked out of his sleep, and he said, Surely Yahweh is in this place, and I knew it not.
So Jacob had heard, he had been told from Isaac, or from Abraham down to Isaac, the oral history and the promises that were given to his forefathers and to him, right? That his father told him to go to Laban, and in verse 4, and he said, to receive the blessing of Abraham and thy seed, that thou might inherit the land where thou art a stranger, right? So he knew that he was supposed to inherit a land, right? He heard, but he didn't know where this land was, right? And so as he, as he stops in Beersheba, in Haran, and lays down to rest, the Lord comes to him in a dream and basically tells him, this is the land that you have been promised, right? So he wakes up, shaken that this is his first encounter with the Most High reaching out to him and letting him know everything that you've heard is true. I will do like you have heard, like it has been told unto you that I will do unto you. I will bless you and I will make you great, right? And I will give you this land that you're in right now. You're in the land that I'm going to give to you, right? So let's read on. Verse 17.
And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place? There is none other but the house, this is none other but the house of God. And this is the gate of heaven.
This is what he realized after the dream. Read.
And Jacob rose up early in the morning and took the stone that he had put for his pillows and set it up for a pillar and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city was called Luz at the first.
So he anointed this place, read.
And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if God be with me, and I will keep me in this way that I go, and I will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I shall come again to my father's house in peace, then shall Yahweh be my God.
So Jacob vowed, he made a vow to God, saying, if you do what you said that you would do, you protect me, take care of me, and return me back to my father's house, then you will be my God. I will worship you. I will devote my life to you. I will do your will, right? Go ahead and read that last one.
And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house. And of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the 10th unto thee.
So he also promises the 10th of all of his proceeds, right? Back to the Most High. Let's head over to chapter 29 and verse 1.
Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east.
Okay, drop down to verse 10.
In verse 10. And it came to pass when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's uncle, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stones from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother.
Read.
And Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father.
So Jacob was excited to see Rachel, his cousin, and he told her who he was. And she ran off to told her father Laban. Read.
And it came to pass when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things.
Read.
And Laban said to him, surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month.
Read.
And Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be?
So Jacob staying with Laban thinks to himself, oh, let me put my nephew to work, right? Read.
And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel.
Read.
And Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter.
Jacob seeing Rachel, he very quickly fell for her, right? And so he tells his uncle, you know, you don't have to pay me anything. I will work for you for 7 years. Just give me your daughter to wed after that 7 years, right? Read.
And Laban said, "It is better that I give her to thee than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me."
Laban agrees, you know, it's better that I give her to you than, you know, some other jabroni off the street, right? I know you, I know your pedigree, I know we're family, right? I know what you're about. So I know that you're a man of high quality. So it is better that I give her to you than run the risk of having to give her to a lesser man, right? Read.
And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days, for the love he had to her.
He was so smitten that the time that he served seemed to go by in a flash, right? Read.
And Jacob said unto Laban, "Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her."
So after Jacob serves his 7 years, he goes to his uncle and he said, "Hey, you know, I've served my 7 years. I put in my time. Give me my wife. You know, I'm ready to officially make her my wife and get on with my life." Right? Read.
And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to him, and he went in unto her.
So Laban is a kind of man, right? This is not a man that is. This is not a man that's following the Most High laws. This is not a man of high integrity. This is not a man of high righteousness. This is not a high quality man, right? And so he deals treacherously with Jacob, right? He tells him one thing and then does another, right? So he throws a big wedding feast for Jacob, right? And Jacob is supposed to wed Rachel, who he'd already put in 7 years of labor for. But instead, Laban gives Jacob his other daughter, right? His elder daughter, right? Let's read right.
And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, for an handservant. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, "What is this that thou hast done unto me? Did I not serve thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me?"
So Jacob wakes up in the morning and he looks and he's like, "Wait a second, this isn't my wife, Rachel. This isn't the one who I labored 7 years for. This isn't the woman that I am madly in love with. This is Leah. This is the sister. This is not the agreement. This is not what we agreed on. What are you doing to me?" Right? Why are you dealing with me in this way, right? Read.
And Laban said, "It must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn."
So Laban tells him, you know, in our culture, you know, we don't give the younger before the elder, right? Which is fine and understandable. But why didn't you say that in the first place? Read.
"Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve me with yet 7 other years."
So Laban says, "Look, I know you want Rachel, and I'll make a deal with you. I'll make another deal with you. Serve me 7 years for her, and you can have her," right? Read.
And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also.
Jacob did because he was in love with her, right? And so he went ahead and put in that work, which was probably dropping a hat to him as well because of how much he still loved her, right? Read.
And Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah, the handmaid, to be her maid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years.
And so after he put in the 7 years for Rachel, which became Leah, and then he put in another 7 years to get Rachel, the daughter that he actually wanted, he served another 7 years after that, right? Read.
And when Yahweh saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren.
because Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah, or he hated Leah, right? He closed up the womb of Rachel and didn't allow her to bear children for Jacob, right? Read.
And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, surely Yahweh have looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, because Yahweh hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon.
So these are the first of the progenitors of the 7 tribes, or the 12 tribes, right? Leah goes on to have a couple more sons, right? Let's jump down to, or let's go to Genesis 30.
Chapter 30. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, give me children, or else I die.
So Rachel, being jealous that Leah, her sister, is giving Jacob all these sons, and she's not able to give him any sons, she's upset with Jacob, right? And so she takes out her frustrations on Jacob, and Jacob's like, look, why are you taking this out on me? There's nothing I can do about it. This is the will of the Most High, right? Drop down to 25.
Verse 25. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, send me away, that I may go unto mine own place and to my own country.
And so after a little while, the Most High grants Rachel's wish and allows her to birth a son, Joseph, right? And Jacob, now having this son, tells Laban, hey, I wanna go out and do my own thing, right? Read.
Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go. And thou knowest my service which I have done thee.
And he's like, look, you know that I put in more than enough work for what I'm asking for. Read.
And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry. For I have learned by experience that Yahweh hath blessed me for thy sake.
Read.
And he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it.
Laban, now understanding that he has been blessed through the blessing that the Most High is showing on Jacob, of course he doesn't want him to leave, right? He wants to continue to be blessed the way that he's being blessed, right? So he tells Jacob, look, stay here and continue to work for me, and I will pay you whatever it is that you ask, right? Read.
And he said unto him, thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. For it was little which thou hadst before I came, and now is increased unto a multitude. And Yahweh hath blessed thee since my coming, and now when I shall provide for mine own house also.
So Jacob's like, look, when I came here, I didn't really have anything, but but through the blessing of the Most High, I have been able to increase your ownings into a multitude. The Most High has blessed you exceedingly, right? But when am I going to be able to bless my own house, right? When am I going to be able to develop my own prosperity, right? Read.
And he said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire.
And so he's saying, look, I don't need you to give me anything. I'm going to continue to work, but allow me to take of the less physically desirable of the flock and use them as my will, right? Read.
So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come from my hire before thy face. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me.
So as I continue, as I work with your flock and I mate these of the less desirable, those that come out that are also speckled or brown or spotted, let those be of mine, and all those that are not, you keep for yourself. Right? Read.
And Laban said, Behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed that day the he-goats that were ring-straked and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his son.
So Laban agreed, but he also took those less desirable of his flock visually, right, and gave them to his son, and sent his sons a 3 days journey away, right? Read. Away from Jacob. Read.
And he set 3 days journey betwixt himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks.
Read.
And Jacob took him rods of green poplar, and the hazel and chestnut tree, and peeled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters, and the watering through the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink.
Drop down to 40.
And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring-strake, and all the brown in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's.
So Jacob dealt wisely with the cattle, right? And he mated the strong with the strong to produce stronger cattle that he kept, and the weaker he left for Laban, right? Read.
And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and menservants, and camels, and asses.
And because the Most High was still dealing with him, he was able to increase exceedingly, right? And he acquired maidservants and men servants to help him with the exceeding growth of his cattle, right? Let's go to chapter 31.
31:1. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's hath he gotten all this glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not towards him as before.
So Laban's sons are upset because Jacob has prospered with his flock, and not so much with Laban's, right? And Laban's flock is supposed to be passed down to his sons, right? But his sons are seeing that they're not gaining like Jacob is, and so they're upset, right? And Laban is also feeling a kind of way because he's not seeing the blessings that Jacob's getting, right? His flock is not looking anywhere as great and mighty as Jacob's flock, right? Read.
And Yahweh said unto Jacob, Return unto the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee.
And so the Most High tells Jacob, like, look, time is up. It's time for you to take your things and get out of here, right? Read.
And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock, and said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not towards me as before, but the God of my father hath been with me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father. And your father hath deceived me and changed my wages 10 times. But God suffered him not to hurt me.
So he's telling his wives, look, you see that your father no longer has the same favor for me that he did. You see all the work that I've put in for him. You know my diligence, my dedication to building up his house, building up his flock, the work that I've done for him, the labor that I've put in for him. And you see how he's dealt with me. You see that he's deceived me time and time again. You see that he hasn't dealt with me uprightly, right? Read.
If he said thus, the speckled shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckled. And if he said thus, the ringstake shall be thy hire, then bear all the cattle ringstake. Thus God hath taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me.
So the Most High has done this. The Most High has blessed me and not blessed your father, right? It is his will. Read.
And it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up mine eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ringstake, speckled, and grizzled. And the angel of God spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here I am.
Read.
And he said, Lift up now thine eyes, and see, all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ringstake, speckled, and grizzled. For I have seen all that Laban doeth to thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vowedest a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return unto the land of thy kindred.
So the Most High, through a dream, through his servant, speaks to Jacob and lets him know, look, I've seen the work that you put in. I've gone ahead and blessed you under the terms that you made with Laban. And now I need you to get up, and now I need you to head back to your land, right, to your kindred, right? Read.
And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto them, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house?
Read.
Are we not counted of him strangers? For he has sold us, and had quite devoured also our money.
Read.
For all the riches which God had taken from our father, that is ours, and our children's, now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do.
And so Rachel and Leah both understand that they don't have much favor with their father either, and it's not likely that their father is going to give them what is due to them, right? So that their husband's house can be blessed, right? Read. So they say, you know, if it's the Most High that is blessing you, then we need to do what he says we need to do, right? Read.
17. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and his wives upon camels, and he carried away all his cattle and all his goods, which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting, which he had gotten in Padan Aram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's.
Read.
And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, and he told him not that he had fled.
So when Laban had left to go shear his sheep, right? Jacob packed up all his stuff and got out of Dodge, right? Read.
So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river and set his face towards the Mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled.
So 3 days after Jacob fled, Laban was given the news, right? Jacob and his family had a 3-day head start. Read.
And he took his brethren with him and pursued after him 7 days' journey, and they overtook him in Mount Gilead.
So it took him 7 more days to catch up with Jacob and his family. Read.
And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad.
So understandably, Laban is probably feeling a kind of way, right? Because Jacob snuck off, took all of his things with him, and didn't say anything, right? Took his daughters, took his grandchildren, took his wages he didn't really get an opportunity to continue to deal with him the way he had been dealing with him, right? The way that he had been taking advantage of him, right? I'm sure he felt a kind of way about that, right? But the Most High came to Laban and told him, look, I don't care how you feel. I don't care what has happened to you. I did this to you, and so you're not going to take it out on Jacob. Make sure that you deal with him uprightly. Make sure that you don't deal with him in a good way or in a bad way, but you deal with him in a fair way, right? Read.
Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mount of Gilead.
Read.
And Laban said to Jacob, What hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters, as captives taken with the sword?
And he says, look, how could you run away and take my daughters with you as captives, right? Obviously that is not what happened. But this is Laban putting 10 on 2s, right? And making a more dramatic deal out of something that is not, right? Read.
Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and didst not tell me, that I might have sent thee away with mirth, and with songs of tabret, and with harp?
And so Laban is saying, look, if you would have just told me, I would have threw a party for you, and I would have sent you away in a pleasing way, right? Read.
And hast not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters? Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing.
Read.
It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt, but the God of your father spake unto me yesternight, saying, Take thou heed that thou speakst not to Jacob either good or bad.
And so Laban is telling him, look, I wanted to come here and get some revenge on you, right? I wanted to deal with you in a harsh way, but your God came to me last night and told me don't do that, right? Read.
And now, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods?
Read.
And Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Perhaps thou wouldest take by force thy daughters from me.
And so Jacob told Laban, look, the way that you have been dealing with me, I can't trust you. You know, I figured that if I decided to tell you that I was going to leave, you would, if you decided to allow me to leave, you would take my wives from me, and you wouldn't let me leave with them, right? So that's why I stole away. Read.
32. With whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live. Before our brethren discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tent, but he found them not.
So Laban really was looking for the idols that Rachel had taken, right? And that was really his concern, right? Read.
Then went he out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images and put them in the camel's furniture and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not.
Read.
And she said to her father, Let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but found not the images.
So she's on her cycle, her monthly cycle, and she tells her father she's on her cycle, and she can't stand up so that he can search under her, right? Because that's where she has the idols hidden. Read.
And Jacob was wroth, and chode with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin that thou hast so hotly pursued after me? So
Jacob was upset, right? Because he knows that he hasn't stolen anything, right? And he's also said that Laban, go ahead and search, and if you find if you find your items, whoever stole them, let's put him to death, right? Because he knows that he hadn't taken anything, and so he's upset because of all that he's done for Laban, how he's dealt with him completely uprightly, right? And yet Laban is treating him the way that he's treating him, right? Is accusing him of theft, is going through his things, and he's upset, right? So he's saying, like, after all that I've done for you, after all that I've dealt with you, this is how you treat me? Read.
37. Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, what hast thou found of all thy household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge between us both. This 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have I not eaten. That which was torn of beasts I brought not unto thee, I bear the loss of it.
So he's saying, look, all the flocks that were killed, I've taken the loss for that, right? I haven't returned those on to you. Read.
I bear the loss of it. Of my hand didst thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served the 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for the cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times.
I have served 7 years for each daughter, plus another 6 years for the cattle. And through all of this, you have dealt sideways with me, right? Read.
Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac have been with me, surely thou hast sent me away now empty.
And I know that if it wasn't for the God of my forefathers having favor with the Most High and him having favor with me and blessing me, that I would have nothing if it was just left up to you, right? Because this is the kind of man that you've shown yourself to be. You're the kind of man who like I thought, would have allowed me to leave with nothing, not with my wives, not with any of my flocks, with nothing, right? This is the kind of man that you've shown me to be. Read.
God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight.
And so the Most High has seen how you dealt with me, and he came to you and told you that you're not going to deal with me any kind of way, right? You're going to respect me, and you're going to let me be. Read.
And Laban answered and said unto Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore come thou, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, Gather stones. And they took stones and made an heap, and they did eat there upon the heap.
Read.
And Laban called it Jagar Sethah. But Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Gilead. And Mizpah, for he said, The Lord Yahweh watch between me and thee, when we are absent one from another.
Read. Drop down to 31.
31.
51, sorry.
51, verse 51. And Laban said to Jacob, Behold this heap, and behold this pillar, which I have cast between me and you. And this heap shall be a witness, and this pillar shall be a witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm.
So Laban, understanding that he can't do anything to Jacob, right? He can't do anything to his wives, his daughters. He can't do anything to his grandchildren, right? He knows that the Most High is with him. The Most High had warned him already. So he just has to let Jacob be. So he makes a covenant with Jacob and says, look, from this point back this way, this is going to be mine. And from this point forward, that's going to be yours. And I'm not going to dwell in your land. I'm not going to come and bother you or your land. and you don't come and bother me and my land, and we'll live peaceably under this arrangement, right? Read.
And the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judged between us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father, Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mountain and called his brethren to eat bread. And they did eat bread and tarried all night in the mountain. And early in the morning, Laban rose up and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned unto his place.
Let's go to chapter 32.
32 and 1. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, This is God's host. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim.
So if you remember, Jacob is still on his way back to his father's land, right? Read.
And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom.
So Jacob is coming back towards his father's land, and he has to pass through Esau's land, right? And understanding that the last time that he saw or heard of Esau, his life was being threatened. So he's sending his messengers ahead of him to set the moon or set the tone, right? Read.
And he commanded them, saying, Thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau. Thy servant Jacob saith thus, I have sojourned with Laban, and stayed there until now.
Read.
And I have oxen and asses and flocks and men servants and women servants, and I have sent to tell my lord that I may find grace in thy sight.
Read.
And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him.
So they went to Esau, and they passed along Jacob's message. And then they came back and told Jacob, we went and told Esau, your brother, what you told us to do, and now he's on his way, him and 400 of his men, right? Read.
Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels, into 2 bands.
Jacob's like, wait a second. He's coming with 400 men? Why? Why all that manpower, right? He must still be upset with me. He must still want to kill me, right? So Jacob starts to plan on how he can go about not losing everything, right? Read.
And he said, If Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape.
Read.
And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, and Yahweh, which saidst unto me, Return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will dwell with thee. I am not worthy of the least of all thy mercies, and of all the truth which thou hast showed unto thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become 2 bands.
Read.
Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me and the mother with the children. And thou saidest, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude.
So Esau now has his own land, right? He is his own power. He has, I'm sure these are soldiers. These are mighty men, trained in battle and war, coming to Jacob and his family, right? And Jacob and his family are manservants, maidservants, his wives, his children, and his flock, right? He doesn't have soldiers. He doesn't have, an army of men. And so he knows that these 400 men that Esau is bringing can destroy, his whole company. And so he splits them in 2, thinking, worst case scenario, half of what I have gets wiped out, right? But the other half is able to escape, right? And he has the Most High. You said that you would protect me if I came back to my father's land. Now I'm begging you. This is the time to protect me. This is the time to come through and do for me what you said you will, right? Protect me from my brother, who I assume is still trying to kill me. Read.
And he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand, a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milch camels with their coats, 40 kine and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses and 10 fowls.
Read.
And he delivered them into the hand of his servants, every drove by themselves. And he said unto his servants, Pass over before me, and put a space between drove and drove. And when he commanded the foremost, saying, When Esau my brother meeteth me, and asketh thee, saying, Whose art thou? And whither goest thou? And whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, They be thy servant Jacob's. It's a present sent unto my lord Esau, and behold, also he is behind us.
So Jacob comes up with a plan to gift his brother Esau as his brother Esau is traveling towards him, right? And so he gathers his flocks, he separates them, and he gives them to his servants, and he tells his servants, take these gifts for my brother and go ahead of me, and make sure that you space each gift out, so that as my brother is coming towards me, every so often he comes upon a flock, right? And he is told, this is a gift from my brother, right? After so many, hopefully each gift softens the heart of my brother, right? And makes him want to do me harm less and less. That's the goal, right? Read.
And say ye moreover, Behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me. And afterward I will see his face, peradventure he will accept me. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company.
So he set out his gifts to his brother, and he lodged where he was that night. Read.
And he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day.
So Jacob took his 2 wives and everyone else that was left with him, and sent them away, right? And he was there by himself, right? And read.
And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, as he wrestled with him.
And so a man of the Most High comes and begins wrestling with Jacob, right? And they're tussling back and forth all night, all day, and neither can get over one another, right? Until the man touches Jacob's hip and displaces it, right? Read.
And he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me.
And so this man is telling Jacob to let him go. And Jacob's understanding what he's dealing with says, I'm not going to let you go until you bless me, until you give me a blessing, right? Read.
And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be no more called Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince thou hast power with God and with men, and hast prevailed.
So because of what you've done, you are no more to be called Jacob, but now you are going to be Israel, right? The progenitor of the 12 tribes, right? Of whom the promises, the covenants, and the blessings are bestowed on from the Most High. Read.
And Jacob asked him and said, Tell me, I pray thee, your name. And he said, Wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of that place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, power face to face, and my life is preserved.
And so he understands that, he's met with a servant of the Most High, and he came away with his life, and he understands the blessing that is, right? And so he names the place based on his experience. Let's jump to 33.
Chapter 33. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah and unto Rachel and unto the 2 handmaids.
So he's caught up with his wives and his children now, and Esau. Here comes Esau with his 400 men coming over the horizon. Right? Read.
And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost.
Because he loved Rachel and Joseph the most, he put them as far back as possible, right? Read.
And he passed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother.
Read.
And Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept.
And so apparently Esau was happy to see his brother, right? And I'm sure to Jacob's surprise, his surprise and his happiness, they both wept. Esau, because he hadn't seen his brother in a long time and probably missed him, and Jacob probably relieved that his brother isn't trying to kill him, right? Read.
And he lifted up his eyes and saw the women and the children and said, Who are those with thee? And he said, The children which God hath graciously given thy servant.
Drop down to 8.
Verse 8. And he said, What meanest thou by all this drove which I met? And he said, These are to find grace in the sight of my Lord. And Esau said, I have enough, my brother, keep that thou hast unto thyself. And Jacob said, Nay, I pray thee, if now I have found grace in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand. For therefore I have seen thy face, as though I had seen the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me. Take, I pray thee, my blessing that is brought to thee, because God hath dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it.
So Esau doesn't need anything, right? He already has his own land. He has 400 men, right? So if that's an indication of all that Esau has, he probably has enough, right? And so he asks Jacob, what are all these gifts that you're sending for me? And Jacob lets him know, like, I sent those gifts so that I might get favor within you, right? So that you won't come and kill me. And Esau tells him, like, I don't need this stuff. You keep it. And Jacob insists, telling him that the Most High has blessed him exceedingly, and the Most High has dealt with him graciously. And for that, this is my offering unto you, right? And so Esau allowed Jacob to bless him, right? Drop down to 16.
16. So Esau returned that day on his way unto Seir.
So they part, and Esau returns back to his land, and Jacob continues on his way. Read.
And Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built him a house and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of that place is called Succoth. And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padan Aram, and pitched his tent before the city.
All right, let's go to chapter 34.
34 and 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. 35.
Chapter 35. And God said unto Jacob, Arise, and go up to Bethel, and dwell there, and make there an altar unto God. And that appeared unto thee when thou fleddest from the face of Esau thy brother.
And so the Most High is telling Jacob to return back to you, to where you came from, right? And build an altar. Read.
Then Jacob said unto his household and to all that were with him, Put away the strange gods that are among you, and be clean, and change your garments. And let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make there an altar unto God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and was with me in the way which I went.
So Jacob tells his household, look, it's time to get right. It's time to put away these idols, to get rid of all of these strange things, and recommit and rededicate ourselves to the God of my father and my father's father, the God who came to me and told me that he would protect me and delivered me and is returning me back to the land of my fathers, right? So let's go and do as he says, right? Read.
And they gave unto Jacob all the strange gods which were in their hand, and all their earrings which were in their ears. And Jacob hid them under the oak which was by Shechem. And they journeyed, and the terror of God was upon the cities that were round about them. And they did not pursue after the sons of Jacob.
Read.
So Jacob came to Luz, which is in the land of Canaan, that is Bethel, he and all the people that were with him. And he built there an altar, and called that place El Bethel, because there God appeared unto him when he fled from the face of his brother.
So he returns back to the first time to the place where he had his first contact with the Most High, right? And he built an altar there, and he renamed it based on his experience with the Most High. Read.
But Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried beneath Bethel under an oak, and the name of it was called Alon Bakuth. And God appeared unto Jacob again when he had came out of Paddan Aram, and blessed him.
Read.
And God said unto him, Thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel.
So the Most High reaffirmed Jacob, his name changed to Israel, right? Read.
And God said unto him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. And the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land.
Read.
And God went up from him in the place where he had talked with him, and Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he had talked with him, even a pillar of stone. And he poured a drink offering thereon, and he poured oil thereon. And Jacob called the name of that place where God spoke with him, Bethel.
So the Most High had returned Jacob, and he had renamed him Israel, and he had done everything that he promised that he would do. You know, he commanded him to be fruitful and multiply, and let him know that great nations would come out of him. Let's continue to read.
16. And they journeyed from Bethel, and there was but a little way to come to Ephrath. And Rachel traveled as she had hard labor.
Travailed.
And she had hard labor. And it came to pass, when she was in hard labor, that the midwife said unto her, Fear not, thou shalt have this son also.
Read.
And it came to pass, as her soul was in departing, for she died, that she called his name Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin.
So Rachel is pregnant again, and she's having a difficult pregnancy, right? To the point where she passes, but before she passes, she has another son, Benjamin, right? Read.
And Rachel died and was buried in the way to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. And Jacob set a pillar upon her grave. That is the pillar of Rachel's grave unto this day. And Israel journeyed and spread his tent beyond the tower of Eder. And it came to pass, when Israel dwelt in that land, that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Israel heard it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12. The sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and Simeon, and Levi, and Judah, and Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. And the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's handmaid, Dan and Naphtali. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob, which were born to him in Padan Aram.
So this is the lineage of Jacob's sons, right? That were born with his wives and concubines, right? His wife's mates. Continue to read.
And Jacob came unto Isaac, his father, unto Mamre, unto the city of Arba, which is in Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac sojourned. And the days of Isaac were 180 years. And Isaac gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people, being old and full of days, and his sons Esau and Jacob buried him.
So Jacob returned back to his father Isaac, and dwelled with him there, right? And after 180 years, Isaac passed on, and this was his two sons, Jacob and Esau, came together and buried him, right? Let's jump ahead to chapter 37. And we're going to read 1 through 4.
Chapter 37. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with his sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors.
Now, Jacob, or Israel, loved Joseph the most, right? And his brothers weren't too keen on that. Read.
And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him.
They hated him, right? And they didn't want to do him well. They didn't even want to deal with him well, right? And so Joseph ends up getting sold by his brothers, right? And his brothers come back and tell his father Israel that surely Joseph has been killed, right? Joseph ends up in Egypt, and in some time he ends up gaining a lot of power, and basically getting the power from the Pharaoh to rule over Egypt, right? I'm not going to go too much into that because Aman next week is going to be covering the story of Joseph, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So let's skip ahead. Let's jump to 45.
Chapter 45.
So there's a famine, right? And it's affecting the whole land. And so let's see what happens. 45, start at verse 7.
And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance.
So by the Most High's hand, Joseph is able to save his brethren, right? Let's see.
And so now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. And he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Haste ye, and go up to my father, and say ye unto him, Thus saith thy son Joseph, God hath made me lord of all Egypt. Come down unto me, tarry not, and thou...
So Joseph is telling his brothers, look, Pharaoh has made me a leader and a ruler of all the land, right? So go get my father, and you guys come back. Let him know the favor that I have in Egypt, how much power I have now, how I am ruler over the land, and y'all get back here, right? Come on, read.
Verse 10. And thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen, and thou shalt be near unto me, thou and thy children, and thy children's children, and thy flocks, and thy herds, and all that thou hast. And there will I nourish thee, for yet there are 5 years of famine, lest thou and thy household and all that thou hast come to poverty.
And so if you guys come here, I can take care of you, right? Because we still have 5 more years of this famine, right? Drop down to 25.
Verse 25. And they went up out of Egypt and came into the land of Canaan unto Jacob their father, and told him, saying, Joseph is yet alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart fainted, for he believed them not.
Because Jacob, all this time, had thought that Joseph was dead and gone, right? And so he's blown away upon this news, right? Not only is he alive, but he is a leader. He's ruling Egypt. Read.
Also regard not your stuff. Oh, excuse me.
26.
26, excuse me, y'all. 26. And told him, saying, Joseph is yet alive, and governor over all Egypt. 27. And they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said unto them. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived. And Israel said, It is enough. Joseph my son is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die.
So Joseph is excited, and he's like, let's go. Let me go see my son, right? 46 and 1.
And Israel took his journey with all that he had, and came to Beersheba, and offered sacrifices unto the God of his father, Isaac.
Read.
And God spake unto Israel in the visions of the night, and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here I am. And he said, I am God, the God of thy father. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation. And I will go down with thee into Egypt, and I will also surely bring thee up again. And Joseph shall put his hand upon thine eyes.
So the Most High comes to Israel and reassures him, don't have any fear going into Egypt, because I'm with you. I'm going to bless you. I'm going to make you a great nation. So don't worry about returning back to Egypt, where your forefathers had escaped from. Right? Read.
And Jacob rose up from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried Jacob their father, and their little ones, and their wives, and the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And they took their cattle and their goods which they had gotten in the land of Canaan, and came into Egypt, Jacob and all his seed with him, his sons and his sons' sons with him, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his seed brought he with him into Egypt.
So he gathered everything up, and he took everything into Egypt, like the Most High had assured him would be okay to do, like Joseph had told his brothers to tell him to do, right? Let's go to chapter 47.
47.
And from the top.
Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh and said, My father and my brethren and their flocks and their herds and all they have are come out of the land of Canaan. And behold, they are in the land of Goshen.
So Joseph goes back to Pharaoh, who he has great favor with, and told him, look, my whole family they have left the land of Canaan where they were and have come to the land of Goshen that we control, right? Drop down to 28.
And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the whole age of Jacob was 147 years.
Read.
And the time drew nigh that Israel must die. And he called his son Joseph and said unto him, If now I have found grace in thy sight, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and deal kindly and truly with me.
You got it.
Bury me not, I pray thee, in Egypt.
So Jacob and all of his household now have dwelt in Egypt, I'm assuming in good graces and prosperity, for 70 years, right? And now he's coming towards the end of his life, and he is requesting that his son not bury him in Egypt, right? Read.
But I will lie with my fathers, and thou shalt carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burying place. And he said, I will do as thou hast said. And he said, swear unto me. And he sware unto him, and Israel bowed himself upon the bed's head.
Let's go to chapter 48.
And it came to pass after these things that one told Joseph, behold, thy father is sick. And he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim.
Read.
And one told Jacob and said, behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Israel strengthened himself and sat upon the bed. And Jacob said unto Joseph, God Almighty appeared unto me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said unto me, behold, I will make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, and I will make of thee a multitude of people, and will give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession.
Read.
And now thy 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born unto thee in the land of Egypt, before I came unto thee into Egypt, are mine. As Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine.
So Jacob is taking Joseph's sons as his own, right? And he's going to bless them as his own. Read.
And thy issue, which thou begettest after them, shall be thine, and shall be called after the name of their brethren in their inheritance. And as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan in the way, when yet there was but a little way to come unto Ephrath. And I buried her there in the way of Ephrath, the same as Bethlehem. And Israel beheld Joseph's sons, and said, whose are these? And Joseph said unto his father, they are my 2 sons, whom God hath given me in this place. And he said, bring them, I pray thee, unto me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim for age, so that he could not see. And he brought them near unto him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said unto Joseph, I had not thought to see thy face, and lo, God has shown me also thy seed. And Joseph brought them out from between his knees, and he bowed himself with his face to the earth.
So Jacob is retelling how he thought that he would never see Joseph again, much less his 2 sons, right? And so he's elated that he's had this opportunity, right? Read. And he's going to bless them. Read.
And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand towards Israel's right hand, and brought them near unto him. And Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand upon Manasseh's head, guiding with his hands wittingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn.
Read.
And he blessed Joseph and said, God, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac did walk, the God which fed me all my life long unto this day, the angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, and let my name be named upon them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth.
Read.
And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased him, and he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. And Joseph said unto his father, not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put thy right hand upon his head.
So it's typical tradition that the firstborn gets the blessings, right? The firstborn gets has favor over the other siblings, and the blessings from that father are passed down to the firstborn. But we've seen in other times where the blessing has not gone to the firstborn, right? Like Manasseh and Ephraim, and also like Jacob and Esau, right? Continue to read.
And his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations.
I'm sorry, like Reuben and Simeon. Go ahead.
And he blessed them that day, saying, in thee shall Israel bless, saying, God make thee as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh.
So Joseph was trying to correct Israel and make sure that the firstborn got the due blessing, right? But Israel knew what he was doing. He reassured Joseph that he knows what he's doing, and his firstborn is going to be great, but the younger shall be greater than he, right? And so he blessed them accordingly. You finish that up?
Yep. And Israel said unto Joseph, Behold, I die, but God shall be with you and bring you again unto the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given thee one portion above thy brethren, which I took out of the hand of the Amorite with my sword and with my bow.
Let's jump over to chapter 49.
Come. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
So Jacob, in his last days, calls over his sons, the progenitors of the 12 tribes, and to give them their blessings, right? Read.
Gather yourselves together, and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father.
Read.
Reuben, thou art my firstborn, and my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to my father's bed, and defiles it, and went up to my couch.
And so Reuben, the firstborn, he's supposed to get the blessings, right? But because of what he did, laying with his father's concubine, he has what's the word I'm looking for? Forfeited. He has forfeited his blessing, his right as the firstborn, right? Read.
Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly, mine honor. Be not thou united, for in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a wall. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel.
Read.
Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down and crouched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up?
So, Simeon and Levi are going to get dispersed within the other nations because of the way that they've dealt, right? Because of what they've done in the past, right? And Judah is going to be the praised son. He's going to be the leader of all the other brothers, right? Read.
The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from before his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Binding his fowl unto the vine, and his ass's coat unto the choice vine, he washed his garment in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes.
This is talking about Yahushua. Read.
His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk.
So just like the prophecy, Judah, Yahushua is going to come from the loins of Judah, right? And he is going to be the king and the savior, right? Read.
Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon.
Read.
Issachar is a strong ass, crouching down between two burdens. And he saw that the rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and it bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute.
Read.
Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse heels, so that his rider shall fall backward. I have waited for thy salvation, O Lord.
Read.
Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last.
Read.
Out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. Naphtali is a hind let loose. He giveth goodly words. Joseph is a fruitful bough, even a fruitful bough by a well, whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him, and shot at him, and hated him. But his bow abode in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. Even by the God of thy father, who shall help thee, and by the Almighty, who shall bless thee with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lieth under, blessings of the breast and of the womb. The blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors, unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren.
So basically, telling everything that Joseph had gone through, right, and the blessings that the Most High had bestowed upon him to be able to save his family, his brothers, his father, and all of Egypt, all the lands from the famine, right? Read.
Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil.
So this is giving the understanding of the differences between the tribes and their characteristics, right? Their strengths and their weaknesses. Continue to read.
And all these are the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is that their father spake unto them, and blessed them, every one according to his blessing he blessed them.
Read.
And he charged them, and said unto them, I am to be gathered unto my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham brought in the field of Ephron the Hittite for possession of a burying place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah's wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah.
So Jacob is requesting that he's buried with his forefathers, right? His grandfather, his father, and where his wife Leah he buried, right? Read.
The purchase of the field and of the cave that is therein was from the children of Heth. And when Jacob had made an end of commanding his sons, he gathered up his feet into his bed, and yielded up the ghosts, and gathered unto his people.
And so Jacob passed, right? And so now let's read about Jacob's burial. Chapter 50, verse 1.
Come. And Joseph fell upon his father's face and wept upon him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father, and the physicians embalmed Israel. And 40 days were fulfilled for him, for so all fulfilled the days of those which are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned him 60 days.
Even the Egyptians mourned him because they favored Joseph so much, right? Read.
And when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spake unto the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found grace in your eyes, speak, I pray you, in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die. In my grave which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan, therefore shalt thou bury me. Now, therefore, let me go up, I pray thee, and bury my father, and I will come again.
So Joseph goes to Pharaoh and said, hey, before my father died, he promised that I bury him, where our forefathers was buried, right? So please allow me to leave, and I assure you that I'm going to return after I have buried him, right? Read.
And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury thy father, according as he had made thee swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt. And all the house of Joseph, and his brethren, and his father's house, only their little ones, and their flocks, and the herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company.
So there were a lot of people, not just Joseph's house, Joseph's brethren, but Pharaoh's servants, elders in his house, and the elders across the land of Egypt, right? They all went to pay their respects to Israel. Read.
And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan, and there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days.
Read.
And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, "This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians." Wherefore the name of it was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan. And his sons did unto him according as he commanded them. And his sons carried him into the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham bought with the field for possession of a burying place of Ephron the Hittite before Mamre. And Joseph returned into Egypt, he and all his brethren, and all that went up with him to bury his father after he had buried his father.
So Joseph and his brothers fulfilled Israel's request and buried him with his grandfather and his father, right? So that is the history of Jacob, who became Israel, who is the progenitor of the 12 tribes of Israel. This is the history of our forefather, right? So hopefully that was educational. Hopefully you are able to take something out of that. I thank you for tuning in. Thank you for continuing to tune in. We have got classes almost every day now. Tune into our classes, continue to like, continue to share, and if you don't have anything.
No, not in particular, no.
With that, we say shalom. Have a good night.